What's interesting to me, though, is that some of them are like brazenly open about how they're spending their money. Like the one guy, Copeland?
Yeah, Kenneth.
Which is crazy. Like maybe this is me being judgmental, but when I first discovered this man and started watching his interviews, I'm like,
what do you think of the eyes?
The eyes.
Yeah.
And you say it's the window to the soul, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable. I'm just not comfortable. And then when he gets agitated, the thing that kind of takes him over, I'm like, if you don't say that that's a possession, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Jesus wanted me to have Tyler Perry's jet because there are demons on these metal tubes. And he's okay with just saying that and being recorded. And people are like, yeah, he's great. I don't doubt him at all.
What did
Can
he say?
you guess?
It wears on you.
Can you guess what he did before becoming a pastor?
No.
He was a musician in LA. So when you look at the Kenneth Copelands and the Joel Osteens of the world, and do you know who Joel Osteen is?
Yes, my mom was a huge fan.
Okay, so Joel Osteen, before he took over Lakewood Church in Houston from his deceased dad, he was a TV producer. So you look at these big charismatic pastor celebrity characters, and before they were pastors, most of them had a career in entertainment. And so, especially Joel Osteen, like, what did he turn Lakewood into? A TV station. Like, it's not rocket science. And then he goes, oh, God blessed me. I'm like, no, you were just a talented TV producer who then got a built-in revenue stream from your dad's following. So you inherited this massive, donation pool. And then you just monetized it. Like, you're a genius, but God, like, I don't think God blessed you, bro. You just figured out the business model. And then, but the kicker is you can say God blessed me. And that's a big thing too, is this idea of blessing in the Bible. So just like tithing's been abused, this idea of blessing, because Americans, for most Americans, they would, what if I blessed you, what should I do? Oh, give me money. It's all, we're a consumer and we're a consumption-based country. We are obsessed with wealth and celebrity. So naturally, if the Bible says the word blessing, it means wealth and celebrity. That's not what it meant when that verse was written 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I saw on your reading list you had the consumer instinct with Gad Sad.
Yeah.
I was like, our reading list is so similar.
Yeah, Gad. I was talking to Gad for the show. Gad, I hope you're listening because
he might be.
Gad, I hope you're listening because as soon as I told him what I could pay him, he just never responded. You money-driven.
Speaking of Joel, he took quite a hit. Do you remember when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston? Are you familiar with that? Like,
I couldn't believe it, and I was sure. So I was absolutely certain that he was going to lose everything because of this miscalculation. So you have all of these displaced people because of the hurricane, and he's like, I can't let him in. Just redid the carpets.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, what are you talking about? And then there was this guy, I think his name
Mattress Mac.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to show up. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to provide furniture. Like, what do you need?
In his furniture store, his products that he sells at a for-profit, I'm going to let you come in here and use that. Unbelievable.
Well, so that's a big note. So someone on a recent post that we did, because we were talking about the real estate loopholes, and now the LDS Church is the largest private landowner now in Illinois and Florida. Wow. And so you're like, well, you're the biggest private landowner in 2 states of America, and they don't pay property tax on that property. So the 3 of us pay property tax every year to the government. But where I'm going with that is this guy was like, well, religious organizations and nonprofits do way more good than the for-profit sector in regards to helping people. And I'd actually argue they don't anymore. Like for-profit companies like Patagonia and Cotopaxi, like they've become B Corps.
Right, exactly.
And it's like for-profit companies who are technically like the scourge of capitalism are doing more now in giving the majority of their profits back to their beneficiary. And then, but even then, you look at for-profit companies and the way they're trying to raise up minority voices and they're trying to do things in their community. It's like, whether you agree with their moves or not, they're at least activating in their social communities again. Nonprofits and churches have just, for at least big churches, let me rephrase that. Nonprofits and
like the mega churches,
content-focused churches don't care about their local community anymore. That's a very bold statement to make, but they really don't. And it's the small community or the small community-driven churches And this is what's cool is we've actually have a number in the show, a congregant number that shows the tipping point of when you stop focusing on your local community and you have to look at scale because your overhead grows too much now. Mm-hmm. But so small nonprofits and small churches are doing amazing work in their local communities. But the big boys, for-profit companies do way more than the big nonprofits and the big churches.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point, yes, like you have your overhead increase, so like you do have to have your outreach grow, but then at some point it kind of inverts in a way to where you have this surplus, so you should be able to kind of circle back and go back to your point of origin. Mm-hmm. Because you have, I don't know what church it is, maybe you'll know, it's in northern Texas and it's one of the mega churches, and they say like 2 blocks down from this mega church it is just lots of homeless people, mm-hmm. lots of addicts, just like a lot of poverty. Meanwhile, for a Christmas service you have Jesus coming in on the cables and a full band and fireworks.
Nathan went to that service.
That guy just wants some water and a sandwich and maybe someplace to stay for tonight. Like maybe Jesus doesn't need to fly in on the cables. I don't know. I
don't know if it's the same church that we're talking about, but I probably 3 years ago I went to a mega church in North Texas just to get the feel for it. Mm-hmm. And I parked my rental car in the parking lot, and it's the church's parking lot, and there's homeless people right across the street, and I can see cameras, looking at the parking lot, and it's gated. You have to go through a gate and everything. I go to the service, I walk in, I grab a donut and a cup of coffee, of course, and they have podiums like first, second, and third place. So you can get your photo taken standing on the first place podium in front of the step and repeat of the church, which I thought was hilarious. Wow. So I go into the church service, it's ironically, it's not even the pastor. So they have a band playing and then I'm watching a projection of the pastor. So it's not even his main building. It's not his main campus. It's a satellite campus. And so I walk outside, I get in my rental car and I'm like, okay, that was interesting. And I go to fire up my rental car and it's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the heck? So I look under and someone had cut out the catalytic converter of my rental car. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So
Did they know you?
What's up?
Did they know who you were?
No, it was before we started shooting for the show. So I walk back in and I'm like, hey, who can I talk with? Like my catalytic converter just got cut out. I know my insurance company is going to want to see the footage. And they're like, email, this person. So I sent an email that day and I'm like, hey, I had to get this rental car towed. Like, can you give me I know there's cameras, security cameras, can I get the footage and give it to my insurance company? Crickets, don't hear from them. So I send another email like 2 weeks later, crickets, don't hear from them. Keep sending them emails because I'm like, this is ridiculous. They never respond. And so this is in the show. So finally I'm like, you know what, let's send them another email from another email address. And I'm like, dear Mrs. Such and Such, my name is such and such. I went to your church this morning. I live out of town. I would love to send you guys a gift. You guys did so much. How can I give money to your church? Within 4 hours, boom, they responded, telling me multiple places I could give. And so it just shows I laughed because I'm like, well, there's their focus. They don't care if someone needs help. They care if you want to give them money though. And so that's kind of the gist of that is the machine's expensive to run.
Are they obligated to? So like, let's say a crime happens, would they be obligated to disclose camera footage because of the separation of church and state?
I don't know.
I think they could get subpoenaed for that.
Yeah, but it's a catalytic converter. No one's going to go after that. But we talk about a story of a very sad story of a TV network that's registered as a church. And we sat down with the founder's son, who's middle-aged now, and he used to work for the studio, and his daughter got raped by a camera operator at the quote-unquote church, which was a TV network. And they did not bring the police in.
Wow.
Because the founder said that giving would drop if the story got out. So they did not report a rape, and the rapist was never convicted because giving would drop.